We need to consider the approval of our last minutes from March 19th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved.
Remind me who made those motions? Jeremy?
Jeremy, HC seconded it.
CD's on
I know, I saw. Mr. Webb, you're up. We're skipping to you so that you can get in and out, sir.
All right, I
So-
only have about 45 minutes to take here, but I think I'll cut it down to about 5. Would that be okay? Will that make you angry? Most of you I know either by face. Tommy, I just met you even though we wear the same shirt. We've got a good first name, right?
Right, okay.
And Berla, I've seen, you've seen
Yes, I
that.
have lots of that.
I think you have it, but in case you get bored, the brochure is there and available to look at pictures, draw lines, etc. We're grateful for the opportunity to visit with you this year about our festival and to appeal for support. At the same time, we recognize that your team, you're part of our team and we're part of your team, regardless of what you do here tonight. We're thankful for the history of support that the city of Guthrie has given us, and particularly this convention bureau. We know you work on a tight budget. It's getting tighter every year. We are doing the same thing. We found that there's been just a decreasing amount of support coming from some governmental agencies, and it's caused us to take a more proactive role because we want to be of value to this community without being too much of a drag on it. And so we are making a concerted effort to build our equity so that we're less dependent on especially governmental type support because of the nature, the danger is that it will go away in time. We don't know that. We have considerably, about 40% of the support we received 5 years ago, we're receiving now from Oklahoma Arts Council, for example. So we have to work diligently to be good stewards of the funds we have and to appeal for those that can help us. At the same time, we're not ashamed of coming before you because we believe that we offer value to the city of Guthrie. We bring not just an appeal to be benevolent to us and be charitable. We're helpful for support, but we want to give back, and we want to assure you that what you give us will be invested in those things that give back to the city of Guthrie, that make us a value, not a burden on the city. So you have our application in front of you. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer those questions. But we would just ask you to support us in the best you can. We would like to have $2,500. We will put it to great use. Our mind is set right now on using this exclusively for advertising, which all of our advertising, even on the brochure that you see before you, it includes acknowledgement of the city of Guthrie, and we want to promote this community. About 400 people in our organization are volunteers that live right here, and we have, without this community and the community support, we wouldn't be here. Of course, Byron Berlin, by the way, Byron could not make it here tonight because he's suffering for Jesus and a trip to Alaska on a cruise. And but as aside, he's also celebrating his 50th anniversary of Betty. And so I told him on that basis alone, I wouldn't have him here tonight. But so he's somewhere up between Seattle and Anchorage as I speak. But I know that he would want you to know that we're still as passionate for the purposes and the goals that we have today as we were 22 years ago when we started this venture. I've been coordinator now for 14 years, and I can tell you now that we have a dedicated, we have people who are looking for ways to make our festival better each year and every year. This year, we're looking especially forward to having some top first-rate talent come to the festival. That brings people. And the only way we can get really a lot of people is to bring first-class talent. The less we're able to do that, we'll still have a festival, but we really need to be able to do that. And so we make a concerted effort. And by the way, almost every artist that performs for us, they know we're a nonprofit. We try to stay not too far below. We're not submarines, but we want to be even with the water. Even though but our goal is to do the best we can with what we have. So that's really the pitch I would make to you today. We would appreciate your support. We would be thankful for it, and we want to earn your support continuing. We hope we've done that in the past. We've been reputable in that area. But if there's anything that we can do to make it do that better, we're ready, willing, and able to do that. So if you have questions, I'm done.
How are
Yes.
you breaking up your advertising? TV?
This year,
Newspaper.
actually, we have an ongoing kind of arrangement with the local TV stations. Just before the festival, you will notice Byron will be appearing on them. He'll also be appearing on the radio in this community. But we know, and we're also going to be in the newspaper. We're hoping the Guthrie News Leader again will help us out. Daily Oklahoman does. But you know, one of the primary ways we're reaching people now more than we ever is through social media. We're making a concerted effort. In fact, we're investing close to, if I'm not mistaken, close to $5,000 in media this year overall. Close to that. Now, I'm totally quoting on it, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood. We didn't do that in the past. We used mainly newspapers, periodicals, things like that. But we know that the best way to reach people today is through their phones and through their iPads and through that media. So we're trying to get the word out. And we of course we're continually probing. We make little talks to different organizations around the community and do that as well. But that is really the primary, to answer your question, the main thrust of our advertising still is in things like this. These brochures go out to about 15,000 people who we know have been here before, and we want to remind them what's happening and who's coming. Okay. So, another question.
Mine's for the city manager. Since this is an October show, but all the advertising is coming in this fiscal year, are we just given the money for this fiscal year?
We'll work with them and determine that. Do you need money in advance or be reimbursed?
Excuse me?
Do you need the money in advance or do you need to be reimbursed?
We would like to be, if we could have it before the start of the festival, that will give us a better idea of how we can do. And by the way, another thing, and I wanted to mention this too, we want to designate whatever funds your organization, the CBB, supports us with. We basically reserve Best American or American First. I forgot that they changed names. So, and I'm old, but the motel out there on I-35 for our artists, and we've used that quite a bit. And I believe last year we try to invest. That's a business here that pays taxes, and we try. By the way, we try to use when we buy things, everything from Ace Hardware to when we buy local. We don't go to Oklahoma City, and we don't go to that suburb south of here. We go to, I live in Edmond, but I buy in Guthrie. And that's because I feel like that's what we ought to be about. So the money that we spend, all that we can, that has to do with infrastructure, et cetera, is going to stay here, where it can be. Now, where it can't, there's some areas where it can't, but we try to make a concerted effort toward that. But the answer to your question is, if we could have it somewhere just prior to the
Okay.
festival, that would be great.
Okay.
So is there a way we could just have it in this year's budget? So
Well, it's
that way we'll
already
be
in
up to
this year's
date?
budget. It's already there.
Okay,
I was just making
Well,
sure.
Well, it'll be expended out of this year's
this year,
budget.
so then we'll be on track. Okay.
Yeah. All right,
A motion to approve?
for the 2,500.
Yes, for the-
Okay. There's a motion on the table for $2,500 to the Bluegrass Festival. I need a second.
Second.
Is that, Tommy, did you say?
Yes,
Okay.
second.
Tommy seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion is approved.
Thank you very much,
Thank
and we
you,
look
Mr.
forward to
Webb.
seeing it. We're gonna have a festival now. And we're pleased to hear that, and I will convey that to Byron as soon as he talks to me again, which may be, weeks. So, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay. All right.
Could we skip down to staff comments and?
You wanted to talk, Mr. City Manager, before we got, so yes, please.
I just want to make you aware, we have advertised the position of tourism director.
We've indicated our first review of applicants will occur this Friday. So depending on the pool of applicants, it'll judge how fast we make the selection, but we want to fill that position because it's a very active position. I would point out, you all probably saw the job announcement, but some of the things that we're trying to concentrate, and my terminology may not be exactly correct, but in addition to knowing social media and how to advertise and how to promote things on social media, we are also looking for someone with the skill sets to look at the metrics or behind the scene or glass and see what our reach is and what the results are and those kind of things, so we can get more statistics than maybe we have in the past too. So we know a little more about what our impact with our advertising budget and promotion is. Social media, promotion, advertising is our big thing. Once we get a new director on board, I think we will, at one of the future meetings or schedule a special one, to have a workshop to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, all going the same direction. We got some new members. So once we get our new person on board, we'll look at scheduling that. I would mention that from the city standpoint, and part of it rolls into tourism, part of it doesn't, but of course the city has to provide basic services. That's our #1 priority. But most of the other things we're doing from an economic, tourism, development standpoint is we're looking at things to develop our community to make us attractive to young professionals and young entrepreneurs. That's gonna grow our town in the future. And so the walkability, the bikeability, the parks, the vibrant downtown, the arts, special events. So tourism fits in that fold in a lot of ways, and we just want to concentrate on everything that we do in the future is towards bringing that segment of the population that's gonna make us grow in the future. There's some things beyond our control that we have to support, like schools. A lot of people, young families make their decision where they're gonna live on schools. So while that's not a direct city thing, we wanna be supportive. But that's where businesses also, from an economic recruitment standpoint, that's where businesses wanna be, is where the young professionals are. And so we're trying to wrap our arms on all of our efforts kind of towards that common goal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I am going to skip out and go help me get ready for the next event downstairs.
Okay, next thing on the agenda,
Oh, and just in case anybody has any questions, Justin is filling in on an interim basis at the position to help us out, but he's remaining as a board member. If we select Justin, who is going to be an applicant, then he'll resign from the board, but in the interim, he'll continue to stay on the board in case anybody has any questions.
and we're still short one member,
We have a
correct?
vacancy, yes, sir.
Okay,
I know a lady who wants back on the board, she said,
who's that?
Debbie Prather.
File an application.
I told her.
Okay,
But, what does Debbie do?
I don't know.
She was on the board before, but I don't know.
They changed,
Did they-
residencies.
They maybe-
Oh, did they?
Pretty,
I don't remember.
I think she doesn't live in the city of
She may
Guthrie.
not.
Well, then that would be a bummer.
That would be a bummer.
Okay, budget, where we're at, do you have some quick numbers?
I do, like, there's there's all these complicated
Yeah, we don't want-
it just melts my brain, so I tried to like pare
Could
it
you
down.
simplify it for us?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I needed something for my own brain, so hopefully it's helpful for you.
Okay.
You guys too. Let me go back one more. Looking back, the city's first quarter is October, November, December, and so the first quarter of this budget year, the tourism budget, or the hotel motel tax was up 58% for that quarter. The second quarter is already, it lags in how that comes in.
So let me ask you, what are you comparing, the previous year's quarter or the previous quarter?
Previous year's quarter.
Okay.
So first quarter from 2017, or budget year 2017. yeah.
260.
The second quarter, which is January, February, March, is up 7% over the previous year, and that's without March numbers in yet. The last sheet I got from Kim downstairs doesn't have March numbers to it yet, so it'll be more than 7%
Yeah,
whenever that comes in.
Yeah, because we have the rodeo in March, so that
Yeah.
bumps it up a little bit.
And so, and we don't have anything, I don't have any numbers yet for April, May, June.
Okay.
So far, first and second quarter are pretty healthy. And that sheet, if you wanna look at more details about previous years, is in your packets.
This one.
Correct, yeah, so that guy there. In terms of our actual budget stuff, the three, main categories, hey Chris, three main categories are the marketing supplies, special events, and conventions and trade shows. We're basically, the special events, you just voted the end of that, we're pretty much done with special event funding for the year after OIBF. We had to move, it's almost impossible to tell based on this slide here, but Andrea she went ahead and moved 2,500 out of the marketing category into the special events, just in case you guys voted for the OIBF funding. And so this is after that, this 2,500 has already been taken out of that, so that's what's left after tonight. And so basically you can kind of forget about that one now. So if somebody came to the city and requesting funding for another event this year, we would have to move it out of one of these two categories to be able to fund anything else for the year. There's really, there's not, as far as I can tell, there's not a whole lot of stuff earmarked for the rest of the year. So there's some stuff like having some more brochures printed and that kind of stuff, but there's nothing major that we're locked into. This is like Lazy E funding for that advertising contract, which Tommy, we have a year-long contract with Lazy E for an advertising deal, and that's already been encumbered out of this. So this is yeah. Don't worry about Lazy E with that number.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, so, this is after everything else has been encumbered, And then, as far as I can tell from what Andrea had down, there wasn't, we're not locked into a lot of stuff with the conventions and trade show stuff the rest of the year either, as far as I can tell. So that's what we have left. And like, looking at it, I feel pretty good about where that is for the year, because we're not really, we're not looking at being in a buying for stuff going forward for the rest of the budget year.
The convention trade shows, she was more looking at every quarter, more than anything
Yeah.
else, what she could attend and stuff like that.
Now, did she book anything before she left for the rest of the summer? I don't think so.
Not that I can tell. She
Okay.
didn't mention it, she didn't write it down for Verla and I to
Okay.
have it on our radar, so. If something comes up that looks like super helpful,
Yeah.
there's still some money there. One thing that I will say is, Andrea and Leroy, they applied for Guthrie to be a host city for the OML,
City manager or something.
yeah, municipal league, like, whatever the word, it's not,
Workshop
not a
or something.
convention, but like
Workshop.
workshop stuff. And the city was selected to host that, so that's going to, require some money to host it. And, I need to have a conversation with Leroy about like where exactly, like where that
When-
funding's coming from.
When is it?
That's a
September?
fantastic
I
question.
think it might be September.
Yeah.
September or August. one
It's
of
in
those
this
months.
budget year, but I don't know exactly, I can't
think
remember
it's
off the top of my
September.
head.
First week in September.
Any questions about, like, current financial status?
But if I'm reading this, not knowing what we've got in, we're in pretty good shape, right? We'll be okay because we'll still get some hotel motel money between now and October 1.
For sure.
Okay.
And other than just the, regular personnel costs, like I just put purchase orders through for the first 2 quarters of the Lazy E contract. So we still have 2 more quarters of Lazy E to pay.
But that's already out of there.
That's already taken out, that's
Yeah.
encumbered in the budget, but we still have to actually
Pay it.
write them checks, but that's about,
Okay.
for the rest of the year, that's about exactly 5,000, yeah. So that shouldn't be something drastic, we have to worry about. But, like I said earlier, the first couple quarters, that revenue is higher than last year, so.
And then, so that everyone knows too, Guthrie Escape is out of the picture. They are not doing an event this year. So that's normally about $2,500, $3,000 expense
Yeah, no doubt.
in past years, so, okay.
Yeah, 2,000, 1,500, 4,000 last year.
Yeah, because they went with the TV advertising.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did it help any?
Huh?
Did the TV help them much?
I think it did. I mean, in my experience is everything so far, all these groups that have done the television advertising
Right.
have seen larger crowds because they're getting it on the TV stations, so.
I asked that from a personal point, because that's where we wanted to.
So, and they were working on that, and that's a long-term project, I think, that we wanna work on, but 89ers, I know, got a lot of TV press out of that, so I think it pays for itself. All right, thank you, Justin. Any questions on the financial status? Everyone sort of got an idea where we're at going forward?
I'm still trying to really become a master at reading this.
Yeah.
I'm getting there, so if anybody wants to come by sometime, I can.
No, we like your version better.
Okay.
Yeah, it works much better.
Yeah, your version's good. So, okay. Discussion and possible action on fiscal year 19 proposed tourism department budget. Is that something we need to,
I could use your advice a little bit
Okay.
on that. It doesn't technically have to be an action thing, but what I was gonna chat with you about.
I like these charts.
This first
Get a
second,
letter, you
I
get-
have to have it or I get lost. Sometimes I get lost even with it. So, as I'm trying to figure out a 2019 budget, first of all, I'm trying not to paint like the new director into a corner.
Right.
Just, I don't want them to be like, trapped under like things that they don't have no say in. But, this past year, what we did, basically when it comes down to after personnel costs are out of the way, we've got that pile of money which is mainly two categories: the marketing and advertising into things, and the event support into things. Last year, we were at about 65% of that pot of money went to marketing, about 35% went to event support. Now with the marketing, that also includes the little things like even like printing brochures, that kind of, that's kind of like a broad marketing. Not
That's a
just
good
like,
cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Brochures.
So,
Where trade shows fall out in that.
trade shows are in a separate deal. That's a smaller category of, I think last year was about $8,000 total.
Okay.
And it's the rough kind of outline that Andrea left me. It's, I think her rough outline, she had it at 7,500 for this coming year as opposed to 8,000 last year. In the rough outline that Andrea left me, she had adjusted it just a little bit to basically about 61% going towards the marketing of things and 39% to event support. So it's basically in the same ballpark with just a little bit of shift.
Oh, here's what I was looking at.
She didn't really mention like, give any kind of like narrative or justification for that small shift. But in terms of, I know Tommy, this is difficult probably for you to have an opinion based on like previous years, because you weren't here. But like, how do you all feel about how that has been kind of weighted in the past? You feel okay about that?
Well, I think we're changing some of the ways we're heading, versus some of the event support
Right.
to more trying to market the stuff.
Yeah.
And so the marketing needs to be a little higher.
Mhm.
Is it, so if we went to a sponsorship thing, would that fall in marketing?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think,
Now-
Because one of the things I suggested to Leroy, and this is a board thing we can do, is that versus all these events at Lazy E coming to us and saying, I need help, I need help, I need help,
What are you gonna do for us?
I'd rather see us give the money to Lazy E and say, look, if you wanna help them, you can help them, but we're not, because
I know.
I understand, but Lazy E, we got what, we have 3 events at least that come to us. If not 4, that are not funded by Lazy E.
Well, the
For
reason
help.
why there's separate contracts with Lazy E.
I know, so that's long term. Okay, so if I am looking at this for budget wise, is the 126,000, is that what they are projecting for hotel motel tax
Should be more than that.
for 2019?
this is the document that Andrea left me. I think in the next couple of weeks, I'll have a different number from Kim.
I think that's a 66%. It doesn't include the parks recreation, so that's.
Right,
that's
the total is 190,000.
Okay, that's-
126 comes to tourism.
Tourism, yeah.
And from there, we get to break that down. So if I'm looking at this right, and now that 126 has to come our personnel costs.
Correct.
Okay. I think the numbers look pretty close in all reality. I mean, based on
Well,
percentages.
that looks good right now because it's pretty close to last year.
Yeah.
But, it's gonna come into whoever the new director is for tourism,
As to what they're
what their goal is going to be.
correct.
And, basically they have to give the sale pitch. What do they want in event support? What do they want in marketing?
Yeah.
And then we'll have to approve it again or amend it.
Well, and budgets are working documents.
Working
so we-
documents
So
anyway,
we
so-
can move it around.
So it really doesn't, really
I'd
makes
leave
no
it-
difference what we say now.
Yeah, I'd leave it at 65,
Yeah,
35
just leave it
to
at
get a
that.
number around there.
Because, we're gonna basically go with whoever the director is and what, listen to him, how he wants to go and what he wants to do.
But we had, what did we have left over last year? 22,000? We
Yeah, there's a
we
that starting balance.
we started with 22,000, and we'll start with 22,000 again this year. Because of the way they pay it versus the way the fiscal year goes. Tommy, we're on an October 1 fiscal year.
I was fixing to ask you.
So we get the hotel motels, we get money to us from the old year into the next fiscal year. So last year, it was like 22 to 30,000, somewhere like that.
Hopefully that number is larger. Just
Well,
because
yeah.
we don't really have any, like, at this point, any ideas of, spending that surplus from the year on anything else at this point.
I think we're sort of breaking even this year anyway, so probably about the same. Now, Tommy, the hotel motel is submitted quarterly.
Right.
So for January, February, March, it's submitted in April.
So if you look on, this is what they're talking, so like for
Yeah.
this year,
Kendall looked over all that when Andrea sent it to me.
yeah, so for this year, we've already brought in hotel motel. Now, is this hotel motel, or is this the whole thing including the parks? The 68,000 and the 51,000?
It breaks it out on the right. So the on the left-hand side, you have the total number, and in that column on the right, you have broken out to parks, tourism, and the admin fee that gets taken out.
And we need to ask where the admin fee goes now.
City.
Does they all pay for the salaries?
It is not.
Okay. Well, I would say unless there's any objection, we just go with that for now till we get a new tourism director
Okay.
and see what the numbers come out. We're gonna get a look at the first budget anyhow. So we'll be, okay. All right. Next item, Territorial Christmas Post-Event Report. I thought this was very detailed this year. I thought they did a very good job. Does anyone have any questions? Is there anything we need to take back to them?
The only thing that I was going to just give them a call was, I double checked with Kim in finance that we gave them 7.
Right.
And they had us down as 5 on their sheet here, so I'm just gonna clarify that with them, just to make sure that their records are right. But, the highlights, they estimated that there was about 6,000 folks for the opening night, which is the parade and the tree lighting thing. They added some stuff this year with like the food vendors and outdoor movie thing for that night. They didn't have any kind of estimate on the number of folks for the actual Victorian walk in their report. They also had some print advertising, but they did the TV spots as well. One thing about the city's money that goes to them makes up about 33% of their total funding. And just to give you a comparison, and going back to Bluegrass, that's on their end, that's about, the city funding is about 1.5% of their budget, so. Yeah.
But the volume, the scope of the event's completely different.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's more of a 3-day.
So you're gonna check on the 7,000 versus the 5.
Yeah, I confirmed with Kim that we wrote them a $7,000 check, so I just
I
need
thought
to
we
call
gave them a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they wanted more for advertising as well.
Yes,
For the
and they
TV.
were doing the TV and
So, yeah.
everything.
And your packet has the actual breakdown of the different commercial spots and where they ran and that kind of stuff, as well as the print ads are included in that too.
Did we split it up a little bit, X amount for ad
I
TV
think we
and then
did.
a
I'd
little-
have to go back.
Little bit more
For some for
For
print
print.
and some for television, because
Yeah. I
this
think
was
we
their
totaled to
first,
7,000.
this was their first venture
Yeah.
into
I
television.
think that's what we did.
Yeah.
I think
So
maybe
that's
that's
why.
why for some reason their numbers just don't include the entire seven
Yeah,
in there.
that's
Some-
what it
but
is. We gave them,
some got left
we
off.
split it out,
Yeah.
okay, this amount is for your TV advertising and this for material.
Yeah, because see, on the other side, well, now they do have, oh, they put as a grant from CVB, I see what you're saying. Because on the other side, they got 5,000 for advertising, and then advertising print, they got 2328.
So that's about right.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, do we have any issues other than just correcting that, guys? Anybody got anything? Okay. I move we accept the, post-event report with the correction on finding the 7,000 now.
Okay, I second
All in favor?
it. Alright.
Discussion of 2018 89er celebration event report. Okay, so I went to their meeting, and I just asked Leroy, because it was pretty, and I just asked if we could accept this as their recap, since we knew they spent the money, so that we could get it out of the way and be done with it. So,
I have nothing interesting on.
okay. So if you guys look through it all, they spent the money we gave them, and they did everything that they said. The big thing obviously was, if anyone's looking at their expenses, they only netted $757 off the chuck wagon fee.
What?
So they were really disappointed. Well, part of it,
Well, yeah,
part of it was,
they had to pay for the meat and stuff, right, this year?
they had to pay for the food, or
Right.
they did not get the free pork this year. Part of it was they did not do advance, the guy that does the tickets, the Edward Jones guy.
Dustin Dameron.
Dustin said that he had a lot of businesses that didn't buy advance tickets this year because they didn't do a pre-sale number. They've always done a pre-sale number versus a door number, so they've always done like $8 or $10 in advance and $12 at the door. They didn't do that this year, they did it all one price. A lot of people said, well, we'll just get our tickets at the door if the people come. And lo and behold, and I was at the dinner looked like it was down. So, but they did clear 98.85. We gave them $3,000, and I'm trying to find it. They listed it, but
I couldn't actually find it.
well, they had advertising in here. That's why I was just. But they broke it down by. Well, they had it, I thought. I'm gonna have it somewhere back in.
At their meeting, like, when they explain this, it makes sense. When
Yeah.
you're reading it, you're like,
No, yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, here's the advertising, they spent $5,090. And we weren't gonna make them, I just asked Leroy, and I know they spent it, I just don't know,
That's good.
we just didn't need the paperwork to get all the copies of the ads and everything, so. But they made $988.85. That money goes back to next year's 89ers committee to start 2019. And then they made, I think they said the rides netted American Legion like 16,000.
It's not bad considering Saturday was a washout.
Yep, but the Sunday was a hit.
Yeah.
So they are in the process of negotiating with the ride company to keep the rides up on Sunday afternoon. They're gonna negotiate with the food vendors to keep the food vendors up on Sunday afternoon. after church. But the rides were definitely a hit on Sunday. So, and like I said, I think they said they made 16,000 this year, they only made 14,000 off the rides last year. So, they would have been down probably a little bit more. Yeah, the Saturday washed everything out, so.
And last year, I think their Friday got.
Friday got washed out.
If they can get one where they don't get any days,
Yeah,
they'll make.
But last year also, they didn't keep it open on a Sunday, so they just lost everything, so. And the rodeo, or bull riding, came back and they came back the following week versus trying to do it in the mud, so.
So does that money go to them?
No, but since we gave him money, we should be getting a recap report from Jerry.
Yeah, but this is just 89.
This is
we don't
just
even need to
89ers.
Talk about that.
Yep, this is just 89ers. So they netted right around 10 grand, 98.85, so seems like a lot of work, doesn't it, for 98.85? Any questions? Do I need to call Jerry Ball back on anything?
No, you're good.
All right. So we are whipping right through this, we're gonna get done.
And you had a vote on accepting the Christmas
Oh,
attraction.
so do I have a motion to accept the report?
A motion.
Second.
Thank you. Jeremy, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Staff comments, Mr. Interim Tourism.
I'm just trying not to break anything.
Yeah.
Right now.
Need a bigger office.
We moved back up onto this floor.
Oh, you did? Oh, that check.
So-
Oh, okay. Got 2 rooms then.
Yeah, so we're back down at the end of the hall.
Cool.
So stop by anytime,
Oh,
say hello. Verla, anything?
Anything Verla going on that we?
Oh, yeah.
This past weekend was the quarter horse deal
American
out
Horse
at
Association.
Lazy E, and I had no idea that people like.
You know, they didn't
really
even
into
ask for any
quarter
money,
horses.
but that's a better turnout for the motel for any of these other ones.
That's good.
Really?
Well, we had a welcome table there and a presence with volunteers and myself, and so lots of great horse people there,
Yeah.
just like with Little Britches when they come.
I did not know that. I was wondering what all the horse trailers were doing in town at the
Yeah.
Well,
restaurants.
and they were eating at all
Yeah.
the restaurants, they really were.
Friday, I ate lunch over at the Bluebell, and it was packed with cowboy hats,
Mhm.
and cowboy boots and stuff. And I assumed they
Spurs.
were quarter horse people.
Yeah.
But
Spurs too.
Okay. Anything else?
The only thing would be, even as, you know, like you guys were saying earlier about the kind of the breakout of marketing versus event support. I think going forward, looking at how we did things this year with Little Britches, that rodeo, in terms of that is kind of morphed into more of like an advertising kind of contract where we're giving them some support money, but they're providing us like kind of some pretty tangible advertising opportunities with like information on their website and those kind of things where we're getting in front of the eyeballs of people who are going to Little Britches. So I think in the future, when we're working on with different events, that if we're going to lean towards the advertising and just working with them on how can we get our information in front of your people's faces.
Yeah, before the event. So
Yeah.
they haven't got any money this year.
Who's
They
that?
didn't, Little Britches.
I think we did. end up
We,
getting-
looking through there, we did approve some.
I've got
But
2,500 like encumbered.
Yeah, but they haven't requested it, I don't think.
I thought they did.
I think they did.
You might wanna check.
Because
on
they had
that.
to come back.
But they didn't come back.
I'll have to go.
I'll have to check that.
Yeah.
Was it about the
I'm pretty sure.
Was it about the website?
Yeah, about what they were
Yeah,
gonna
but,
do.
yeah,
first.
but,
Yeah, but
yeah,
we
but did
didn't-
we assign anything?
We
Did
didn't want to do the website,
Yeah, so we
though.
haven't, so they're not getting any
So,
money this time.
We need to go back and that was my other question, and either one of you can answer it, is Are we doing it, are we putting a welcome table up for Little Britches?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
There's, you have to. It's good. And we have a lot of volunteers.
do you have people signed up and everything? Okay.
And it looks like, I'm waiting to hear back from Ginger with Little Britches, but it looks like their overflow RV area is probably gonna be, the flats. And so she thinks they could have between, 50 and 80 RVs over there, which would, that'll be a benefit and like bring some of more of their folks to downtown and.
Now, does Leroy know about that, so that the water and all that good stuff is turned on?
Yeah, I've got the lease, he approved the lease from 2 years ago. I'm just waiting to hear back from Little Britches on, whether she had to get their board to approve it, that kind of thing. So as soon as their board approves it, they can sign it, Leroy can sign it, and everybody is.
And is that gonna cost us anything, or are they sort of?
The way that the lease is written up, they have to put down a $2,000 deposit for electricity. The city, according to the lease that Leroy has approved, the city basically eats the cost of the water.
Okay.
If they don't use up $2,000 worth of electricity, the city will refund whatever deposit money that they don't use up. If they use up more than $2,000 of electricity, the city will bill them after the fact for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many trailers can they get out there?
More than I ever dreamed.
More, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Oh, yeah.
I think altogether, there's a different number of electric
Nice.
hookups
Okay.
and water hookups, but if you want both of them, I think we're at like, I didn't bring it,
No, that's-
130.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say,
see, because I was thinking when they build a trailer, it's an individual person.
on Tom's report for Bluegrass, I thought they said they had 126 hookups last year out there
Sounds about right.
for Bluegrass, for trailers.
And that's, and I think that's with both water
Yeah.
and electricity. If they don't need one or the other, you can even go a little bit higher. I can't remember.
That's prime stuff for Bluegrass. They
Yeah.
start,
They live out there.
they start lining up on Saturday morning for that.
Week ahead.
No, we could do it earlier.
Well, the Saturday before.
Yeah,
Saturday.
Saturday before.
Yeah,
It's
so,
on the campground up there.
okay, cool. Convention board comments, HC, anything we need to put on future agendas?
Not at this time. I guess we're gonna meet once the director's in place.
Okay. Tommy,
Good.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Jeremy, anything from you that you
No,
want to
sir.
see that we need to do?
Nope, I think that the workshop he's talking about would be a good thing. So.
Now, speaking of workshop, do you guys just want to do it on a regular scheduled Monday night? Or do we need to,
And basically, let's go back when we get the position for
Okay.
the director. If we fill in 2 weeks, then we'll be okay for next month, because we probably won't have a meeting next month,
right,
most likely,
And it doesn't look like there's gonna be like a ton of action items.
Well, that's what I mean,
Well, that's
we
what
might
we-
not even have something.
that's what we were talking to Leroy about, if there's no
Then
director.
we could do something else.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I would like to put something in place before the new year,
Yeah.
more than anything else.
new fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fresh start.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I can't think of anything else, guys. A record. I adjourn.
If the guy